Okay, and Hani, are you wanting to lead us in a meditation this morning
I am happy to do that.
or this afternoon? It's noon this afternoon.
Okay, I can't get this to go up. There we go. Is that how we want to start?
Yeah, we were waiting for it last week,
Okay.
so we're
My
excited to see
apologies, I
you.
wasn't here. I did my best, but it just didn't work out. So I'm here today.
Yay, that's all that matters. So everybody, hit your mutes, and let's just focus on Hani for now.
And I'm going to turn this on, but if it I'm just not sure about the volume. So I'm just going to put on this backdrop soft music. But if it's too loud, let me know. All right. Everybody just go ahead and find yourself in your comfortable position. Just your shoulders relaxed, your feet softly on the ground. Close your eyes, lower your gaze. Focus on your breath, coming in through your nose and out through your mouth. As you breathe in through your nose, breathe in for 4, hold for 2, and breathe out for more than 4. As we come together today, I want each of you to focus on one word that we'll come back to a little bit later, but that one word that is your intention, a quality, an affirmation. What one word comes to your mind that you would like to embody today, that you would like to really focus on today? Is it love? Is it kindness? Is it peace? Is it patience? Forgiveness? Calm? As you breathe, if your mind wanders, it's okay. Just gently bring it back to calm, balance, ease, stillness, and peace. Loosen your forehead, loosen your brows, loosen your jaw, just gently opening and closing your mouth. Soften your shoulders, loosening them by gently just rolling. Repeat after me 3 times. I am present where my feet are. I am present where my feet are. I am present where my feet are. My mind and my body are in the same place. My mind and my body are in the same place. My mind and my body are in the same place. Feel your feet become more grounded. Feel your mind and your body become more aligned. Become aware of your body relaxing and releasing. Repeat after me. I am letting go. I am letting go. I am letting go. Feel yourself letting go. Feel yourself let go of all the thoughts, the stress, worries. Imagine letting them go almost as if you're in a shower. And they are the drops of water that are trickling down and dripping off the body. Letting go and releasing. Almost like you're floating, laying on your back and floating. Feel yourself become lighter and lighter. If your mind wanders, gently bring it back. Calm, balance, ease, stillness, and peace. Now remember that word, that intention, that quality, that affirmation. Bring that word forefront. Bring it from your mind to your heart. And repeat after me. I am, and then that word. I am. I am. I am. Feel that word in your heart space and feel how it's different. It's different to feel it in your heart space than in the mind. It's natural for the mind to focus on stress and worries and negative. But when we choose to enter that heart space, we can choose to focus on love, positive, uplifting, and healing dialogue. I am. I am. I am. When you are ready, in your own time, you can gently open your eyes.
Thank you, honey. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Madavi had to take off, so she is not going to be with us, but wow, I feel super relaxed. It's kind of hilarious how relaxed I feel right now. All right, guys, talk to you later.
Ciao. See ya.
Okay, so last time we left one another, we were going to do an exercise where we practiced meditating 10 minutes a day all week. And we were going to focus on some suggestions from the Gita, which are, oh, go ahead, honey.
No, wait, go ahead. Go finish what you were saying.
Okay. So we're supposed to be focusing on like uniting with Brahman, the God, with God, and focused on being in service. Did anybody do that, or did anybody have any luck? I'm just going to be totally honest and say I only did it 3 times. And I kind of feel like that ruins the experiment if you don't do it every day. But I will say that I think it did help me stay focused and keep my mind clear with that being my focus, because I have focused a little bit more like what you do, honey. I've done that more so with the I am affirmations and kind of just focusing on manifesting. So with just focusing on my connection with God and being in service in his name, it did help me to stay focused for longer. And so I don't think I did it often enough to get the full effect, but and Honey, what were you going to say?
I was just going to share because I did listen to the full session from last week, which I loved, and it was so. There's just so much power in so many topics, so many of the topics, and the ways in which you guys expressed what you were talking about. So I just want to thank all of you because it really is of value for it to be available as a recorded session for later. So thank you, Shauna, for doing that.
Oh, good to know. Thanks.
And I don't want to like rehash anything, but I just first off, because everyone kind of shared like their experience with meditation or like where they learned or how to learn or whatever. And if you have ever meditated with Jay Shetty, that I have tried so many times throughout the years to meditate, and I never was able to bring it to a full connection inside of me that made sense until I meditated with him and in his style and kind of the way that he teaches it. And so where I am with meditation is a lot to do with how he has taught me, not like me, but I learned from his teachings and how he guides the whole practice of meditation. And I think that a lot of what I've learned throughout the years is that it's not so much about getting it right. It's not so much about it doing it perfectly or even having like this preset agenda or even going with an agenda. It's just about being and allowing yourself to be and to kind of just melt into that space and that moment that is just for you. And I feel like in that, there is such power in that connection that is a very active place that we're in, even when the external body that people might see on the outside is very inactive. And in that moment of meditation, for me, it's just a place for me to set my intentions for the day, set the day, or reset if it's middle of the day, even if it's not the beginning of the day, just reset, regroup, refocus, and rechannel. Almost like we get static throughout the day, or whatever movement we're in, and just kind of fine tuning back to that channel of what really matters and where those intentions are best serving us. And so I think that was my biggest takeaway, is not so much about direction, or sorry, like where we're going with it, but it's just that we're going in the right direction, that we have an intention on goodness and intention on uplifting ourselves to that soul level, to that heart space, to that higher self, and just continuing to keep ourselves present and connected. And it doesn't have to be long, it doesn't have to be involved, it just serves us to do it. So those are my thoughts with meditation.
I love that. Present and connected. I think that like there's so many different ways to get there, but that does seem like the goal. Yeah, thanks, Honey. Rose, what were you going to share?
I told you I read verses, or I read a chapter, and then I listen to this Peter Boland, who is a professor of religions of the world, and what she just said. I've gotten up to chapter 9. In chapter 9, verse 18 on page 175 says, "I am the goal of life, the Lord and support of all, the inner witness, the adobe of all." And what this professor says is the inner witness is the key to meditation. And he says, below the surface mind with all its cravings and fears, its thoughts, and the thoughts that stream through, we enter into a boundless space, watching our thoughts as clouds passing by. There's that cloud image again. We shift our identification as inhabitant of thoughts to the inner witness of the thoughts. So the inhabitant of the thought is, I'm thinking this is what's going on. And, but if I stop. Remember, we talked about letting those ideas, just clear your mind, but letting those ideas pass by. And he says, as those are passing by, your inner self, your inner being, your inner witness is determining what they mean and why are they there, and are they necessary, or are they a distraction? But I just thought that was kind of interesting when that basically says what she was saying, only just in a different terminology.
I love all of that. And we benefit from hearing it put differently, because each one of us is living, experiencing life through our very own perspective. And it's amazing how just twisting it, or, bringing it from another perspective, can land on somebody and they're like, oh, yeah. I noticed something, and I can't call out where it is in the book right now. I was kind of trying to find it, but it talked about discipline. Like, the person that can do this is like a disciplined person. Did anybody remember seeing that anywhere?
I did. I don't remember where it was either. I do remember.
And that really struck me, because I would like to be a disciplined person. I think in some ways I am, but I'm not as disciplined as I would like to be. And relating it to meditation sort of makes me realize, like, wow, I'm really lacking in discipline in my life. And I think that I wonder if meditation is like a good barometer for how disciplined we are in other areas of our life. Anybody have any thoughts about that? Jessica?
Yes. So what's coming up for me is what is the interpretation of a discipline in this instance? So, like, for example, someone who might be sick or not physically able to do a sitting meditation or a walking meditation, discipline to them might be having to lay on their back with eyes closed, and doing a meditation like that way. So I feel like kind of what's coming up is that definition of discipline, and how it can really look so different for not only different people, but in specific circumstances. And I think, when kind of coming back to like earlier themes that we had talked about, if like the true intention of meditation is to focus on, God, then am I with my full presence without attachment to the outcome of a situation, and doing that act of service? Is that a meditation, and is that discipline, towards my meditation practice? Because that to me is coming through very clear, because I heard you earlier, Shauna, even say like, oh, I did my meditation 3 times a week, and kind of like my mind went to, like I'm wondering, if maybe she journaled about something and was trying to connect with God, or like her truest, highest self, and that maybe was a meditation. Or maybe even reading, the Gita, and really giving yourself those 20-30 minutes, and really focusing on that word. Is that even like a meditation in itself? And are those two things a vessel of discipline?
I've had that thought myself, because when we're really focused on a single act, right? We're not like multitasking, we're single tasking. So we're really focused and present with one thing. It does, to me, also seem similar to meditation, because you're really just in that moment. But I feel like true meditation, or what I think of as true meditation, is when we are not acting, we are not doing, we are literally sacrificing that time and attention to our creator. And it's like in the ability to be still, not just our mind, but our body, to just really be still and sacrifice that time and energy focused on God. that's for me something that I do want to try to do at some point. When Annie, I'll be with you in just one sec. When I think about Jay, and I think about his life and his story and all the time he spent meditating, like actually just sitting still and focusing on God, like when he was a monk. And I see where his life is right now and the message that he's spreading and what he's trying to do with his message. And I think to myself, can we achieve that type of influence on this world unless we give that much sacrifice to that time where we're connecting with God? I think it really comes down to our individual beliefs. Obviously, we're trying to figure out what this is telling us, right? Like, yeah, but they're saying, but at the end of the day, I think each one of us, we get to decide what works for us. Annie, go ahead.
Yeah, so to me, after doing this course, right, I kind of understood the difference between mindfulness and meditation. So before coming to the course, I learned about meditation as watching the thoughts, right? So basically, what Rose mentioned about being the person who is, so we are basically the energy, and kind of watch our minds, like, how those thoughts come in and go, and kind of, so that's what I learned as meditation, to really watch our thoughts and then slowing down and on those mind chatter, and then finally kind of getting to that moment of stillness, right? So that's a part I learned before the course. As I came in, I understood that, as you mentioned, Shauna, about being in the moment, even focusing in one single task, and that I believe is that being mindful in, like Jay gives that example of even when we brush the teeth, like, really being there when we actually than thinking about, oh, what am I going to do next, or all those things. And that's being mindful, I feel. So that's the difference. So when we do single tasking, fully mindful, great output, I believe. And meditation is more about when we do a lot of things, we kind of get a lot of thoughts, and then helping that to slow it down, and then to really get that wisdom from the divine. That's what, for me, spending that time, that's meditation, as I understand.
So you're saying, like, you're basically opening the floor up for God to come in and speak to you or give you messages or guidance. So I just had say that again.
So it's more like to me, the difference between prayer is more like we are asking, but meditation is like you're listening to God, like you're waiting for the wisdom to come in.
Yeah, I love that. It's meditation is like coaching, where we just be quiet and we let God talk. So Hani, give me just 1 second. Wait, you're kicked out? Hold on. I thought she was raising her hand. Did you get kicked out? Are you here? We lost Hani for a minute. Okay, anyhow, hopefully she'll make her way back. I wanted to point out something that just came to me while you were talking, Annie. You sprouted this. Oh, good, Hani, you're back. What was that?
I did that to switch.
Okay, good. So yeah, you just made me think about something when you were talking about us being the witnessing our thoughts. And then, Rose with the analogy of, like, let the clouds pass by. And then it just dawned on me, like, is meditation a practice of detachment and a practice of letting go? Because if that thought jumps in our mind while we're meditating and we actively choose to, like, let it pass, so we're not giving it that attention and focus, like we'd normally grab it and then build on it, but instead we're just letting it pass. To me, that's letting go. And if the Gita is teaching us to detach from pleasure and pain, that's just another way of saying we're letting go. And so meditation seems to me like a practice in letting go.
Mhm.
I feel like we just figured life out. Now we
Yeah.
can be the best we can be. Oh my gosh, so interesting. Well, I found a little entry that I thought was really interesting. And unless anybody has anything right now, I'll jump into this. Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. Excuse me. Last week, Rose, we ended with your question, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
I already have it written down. I don't have it in front of me. That's
How do we balance staying committed to our spiritual journey and purpose and goals in a world full of all the many distractions?
Does anybody have any thoughts that they want to share about that? I'll just jump in and, oh, good. Jessica, go ahead.
For me, what came up when I was meditating on this question was just really staying consistent. And it's funny that we're talking about the person who can do meditation as a disciplined person, because that definitely resonated deeply within me. And I'm thinking a lot of just, even if it's 5-10 minutes a day, that can't be committed to a meditation practice of really sitting in that stillness, then having that consistency. And even if it's only 3 times a week or 2 times a week, being content with that, and grateful for that time that you did dedicate, and not letting the timelines that society might place on us for achieving a specific task, or maybe even thoughts that we might have around what a quote unquote higher or more enlightened version of us might look like, cloud that stillness really resonated through to me as well. So those are kind of the two things that were insightful for me.
I love that. And I appreciate that. Yeah. You took the words out of my mouth. I was like, this is going right back to discipline, right?
Mhm.
But I'll let Seema jump in and then I'll talk more later. Go ahead, Seema.
I just wanted to say, honey, thank you for doing that meditation. It was really nice, really amazing. Actually, I really enjoyed it. So thank you.
You're welcome.
So in response to Rose's question, I thought it was really interesting that today, day one of the Launchpad, I did the worksheet, and in the worksheet, it asks you the question, how well does your coaching business align with your personal values, priorities, and lifestyle? And then it says like the logical coherence of it in your life, right? And when I started filling it out, I felt like that kind of relates back to what we were talking about, is that, if I have this mission statement that I want to, like, if we use Jay as an example, right, to make wisdom go viral, his whole life that he's living and his purpose is, it has this goal that I think allows you to put the chatter and the doubts and the fears and everything aside, because you're focusing on this goal that you feel it has so much meaning and purpose. And in the service to others, there is that spirituality component. And so I feel like by having a goal, right? Like, so if my mission, right, like, is to coach and to empower women, and I'm living that on a daily basis, I'm finding that it's much easier to shut all that out now, right? To like push all that side, because there's like this very clear path. And I feel like it's such a powerful mission or goal or purpose that it's very hard to just distract or sway me from it. if that makes any sense. And I feel like that has made me, like, it has brought it all together, right? That what I'm doing as a career and to make money or to put food on the table or to fulfill my own, you know, really in a way selfish desires, right? Of wanting to, like, you know, create a world around my girls that, you know, empowers them. It it's so much easier, I think, now that I have this path and this purpose, and that's made it easy to avoid the distraction.
So it sounds like you're saying clarity of purpose is
Mhm.
what really helps to drown out the noise of everything else. What are your thoughts, Rose? Because this was your original question. So I'm wondering if what anybody has said has helped you with.
Well, actually, it was I took that question from somebody else who I forget who she was because she's not on the screen today. But she had started something along those lines, and then that's what gave me that idea of how do we do this. I agree with what you said, Shauna, about meditation and letting go, because that's how I use meditation. I give myself 5 minutes when I am frustrated, when I'm angry, when I'm over the top, overwhelmed, and I just sit down and I watch the clouds go by. And I just let the clouds go by, and I try to listen for an inner voice to just calm me. And I do say, let it go. Just let it go. It's not important right now. Just let it go. It'll work itself out, whatever the problem or issue is. And I do that often in my office, working with my son at the computer shop, because there are many times that it's like, okay, boss, I'm going to go take 5 minutes out. I'll be back. And I just relax. And it brings me back to the present. It brings me back to the moment and brings me back to mindfulness of being present now. Somebody mentioned prayer and asking for help. And I think that, I guess I don't call it meditation, but my quiet time is before I go to sleep. And when I want to just calm my body and I just want to let my mind clear, because if I don't do that, my mind is working all night long and I wake up exhausted because so much is on my mind and so many things that they're clouds. They should be clouds. Why am I thinking about these things? So at night, I put on my pajamas, the cat crawls into the bed with me, you know, gets nice and snuggly with me. And that's when I just let it go. That's when I wait for the whisper of God to come, to fill me, to help me tomorrow to serve others. And what can I do? And I don't know, I guess that's what I have to say. So I do have, you know, the spirituality is there. It's always with me. I'm always thinking about these things. I'm always, many times I wake up in the morning and say, okay, I'm your servant today. Just point me in the right direction. And it's amazing how sometimes that really manifests, because somebody will come into the shop. An 84-year-old lady will come in and she is so confused about her computer and nobody can help her. And you sit down with her and you say, okay, relax. I'm going to set this up so it'll be nice and easy for you to use. Let me show you this, show you this, show you this. And by the time I get done, half an hour later, it's like, oh my God, where have you been my whole technical life, you know? And so I figured, you know what? I did a service. I made somebody happy. I relieved her of the frustrations and the anger. I pointed her in the right direction and I did my job today, so to speak. So that's where I'm coming from.
I love that. I love what you do with the 84-year-old lady. I wish somebody would do that for us in the coaching school.
I work with many senior. I have what I call my repeat flyers, you know, my frequent flyers. And they come in to me about maybe I'll say about on average about every 6 weeks, they'll come in and they've totally messed up their computer. They have totally undone everything that I have, you know, tried to set up for them. And so I do tutor. I tutor my seniors and they're very appreciative of it because nobody in the family has patience for them. Oh, just push the button. Oh, just go here. Just click on this. And they have no idea what that means. And so I feel, I am serving others. And then the regular customers who come in, everybody becomes part of the Hannington family when they walk through our doors, and we take care of you and we help you the best we can. And we have, people come back and say, you guys are the best. That's why I sent my neighbor or my son or whatever, because we are serving people in a way that's not cheating them. We're not upselling them. We're not creating, issues and quick turnaround. So I have a service. I especially when those ladies and gentlemen walk in and say, I'm all messed up. I can't get to my bank account.
You absolutely are in service. And in fact, I noticed when you said, I need to take 5 minutes to go meditate or calm down or whatever, I felt like I really wanted to acknowledge you for that, because that is an act of service. That is an act of love. When you take care of you and keep you healthy so that you can be compassionate towards that's really beautiful. I'm glad that you know how to do that.
I've spent I retired 5 years ago from the classroom, and after all kinds of testing and scans and blood tests and all that, to find out that I'm perfectly healthy. I'm a perfectly healthy woman, but I have fibromyalgia because my body had gotten so stressed with my teaching my teaching classroom, losing my dad, losing my mom, all of that on top of everything else. And it manifested in my body. The stress took over. So I don't know what's going to hurt today. Today, it's my knee. My knee is not happy today, but yesterday it was my back acting up because the messages going up and down the spinal cord don't agree with the brain. And so you get all these false messages. So that backstory, because I wanted to say, through all of this and the pain management classes I participate in and still participate in is all about cognitive behavioral therapy. And what you're talking about is that's where I learned to just let it go, sit down, take a break, and then come back and be present again, because they talk about mindfulness, they talk about meditation, they talk about all the things that we're talking about, only they call it cognitive behavioral therapy.
It sounds to me like you actually know exactly how you're going to deal with the distractions with meditation. I mean, who knows? Okay, need to hop off. Thank you. Okay. Just had to take off. Awesome. Okay, so Annie, you were waiting patiently. Do you still have it in your mind?
I saw the time. I saw that, okay, it's almost there. But I just wanted to say that sometimes, like, when the pain or where this whole mind chatter comes, at least for me, is when, like what Rose said, that, she helps the person and look at it as a service. Sometimes, at work or wherever, we kind of identify ourselves as something else, like, kind of take that pride or, take that, then that's when this whole disturbance of, that uneasiness comes into picture. And if we always look in the way she said, like as a service, as everything in that lens, I believe, there's less mind clutter. Yeah, so it's like we identifying ourselves as somebody else or something else. More of a divine connection. If we identify as that, I believe it's less burden.
Yeah, I think that lots of us are experiencing that. Man, I'm really like blown away by the awareness of meditation helping me to let go and detach in my my awakened life or whatever, my daily life. I don't know how to say it, but it seems like so obvious, but somehow just, I don't know, just dawned on me today like it's brand new. Do you guys want to hear now this is from chapter 6. Like, I know people are a lot further now. I'm up to 8. Like, I've read 7. So I'm going to be starting this week with 8 and 9 because I've been busy, but I'm just going to read this. You might be far beyond it, but tell me what you think. It's talking about it's Arjuna talking to Krishna, saying he's worried that like he won't be able to meditate, that he won't be able to connect. It's page 144. And he's like, so what if I don't? Like, what if I can't do it? What if I can't? And Krishna says, Arjuna, my son, such a person will not be destroyed. No one who does good work will ever come to a bad end, either here or in the world to come. When such people die, they go to other realms where the righteous live. They dwell there for countless years and then are reborn into a home which is pure and prosperous. Or they may be born into a family where meditation is practiced. To be born into such a family is extremely rare. The wisdom they have acquired in previous lives will be reawakened, and they will strive even harder for self-realization. Does anybody have any thoughts about that? Did that strike anybody? Honestly, for me, I immediately thought like, I think I should be meditating with my 8-year-old, but go ahead, Katie.
Yeah, well, so I don't remember which chapter this quote I'm about to reference is in, but it's the one that the book starts with, like the very first page of the book. And it says, on this path, effort never goes to waste, and there is no failure. Even a little effort towards spiritual awareness will protect you from the greatest fear. And so I think right there with that quote you just read is Krishna saying, like, you get another shot at this. Like, all the steps you take in this life, even if you don't reach the highest goal, you get another shot. You come back. You get another chance to keep developing that meditation practice. Like, all of this knowledge that you learned in this life isn't going to be lost once you die. You get another chance to pick up from where you left off in your next life. So that's how I heard it when you read it.
And Hani, what are your thoughts?
Do you guys, I know we all have these moments where we hear something profound and it awakens something inside of us, because even though perhaps we haven't heard it stated in that exact way that it is in that current moment, it still rings true. Like, I've heard that before, or I know this, or how do I know this, or how did that so easily become something that I could believe or adhere to as truth? Or why, like I say this all the time, truth tingles. So when I hear truth, I literally like get goosebumps. And it, that has something to do with it, that we are substantial humans, because we are not a body, we are a soul who has a body. And so the soul is so wise, infinitely wise, and so much more like profound often than I think we sometimes focus on or give ourselves credit for. So when those things pop up, like when it said, those that are born into such a family is extremely rare, but the wisdom they have acquired in previous lives will be reawakened, causing them to strive even harder for self-realization. So it's like, once that gear is kicked in, even though they didn't know to kick that gear, and as soon as it is, it's like, oh, and it's like they just keep on rolling with that momentum. And so I think that's true for us. If we really think about it, there are certain things that we hear that are so profound that, no, regardless of how the outside world might view that discipline or that practice as, oh my gosh, that is like beyond something I could do. For others, it becomes so easy and natural to just kind of roll with it and continue on, perhaps because of that, because it's something that's just being reawakened. It's not new. So perhaps that's what
I think we have all experienced that. Annie, were you raising your hand or?
Yeah, I just posted a picture there, which is on Bhagavad Gita again. But when Hanny was talking about, like the soul, right? Like, this is a picture that kind of made me thinking a lot also, like it's the concept is more like, who we are. And there is this chariot, there is, a person who's riding, and then there are these reins, and then the five horses, and how they have actually conceptualized, like, you have the five senses, and those are controlled, and that reins is the mind, and the chariot is the body, and passenger, like Hani said, the soul, right? And then there is this Paramatma, which is super soul, like the universe, the energy. And then there is intellect, which kind of controls, like, have that charioteer. So that kind of gives me a lot of a different thought process about how all of these fits in. Like, it's talking about us, right? But through stories and telling us like different, it's a concept which kind of made me think. Yeah,
I appreciate it. I'm sure everybody here appreciates it because it just kind of paints a picture. It helps you to see it from a different way. Or like Hani was saying, sometimes when you see things from a different perspective, they just land. I wonder, like, I tend to, like, because my focus has been more on Christianity most of my life, I tend to draw like things together, like so in Christianity they don't believe in reincarnation, but obviously this book is all about that. So I can't help but when you were talking about how we take that knowledge and that wisdom to our next life, I was thinking, well, how would that relate in Christianity? And then my thought was forgiveness. Like you kept saying, you get another chance, you get another chance. So I kept hearing forgiveness. Like that's a really similar concept, right? Because here they're saying you get another chance. And then Christianity is saying you're forgiven, you get another chance. Like, but it's here while we're still in this realm. I don't know, whenever I see anything that's like similar between the two, it always sticks out for me, because for me, what is true is what tends to be a vein of truth through all of these different beliefs. So I really notice anything that's like, oh, that's similar. There's truth in that. So I guess if we were going to say the thing that is true is what is the same in all of them, then I guess the message is that we get another chance.
Exactly right. So I believe in that too, where we kind of live in guilt and shame and all of that, like what for the mistakes that has happened, and when we realizing it and being aware of it, and we can move on. That's what the message is basically, and forgiving is forgiving ourselves first, right, to move on.
Yeah, actually, Jess was commenting on something earlier that made me really think about that, what you just said, Annie, about like the guilt and the shame that we feel. And she was talking about, I forget what she was talking about, but this is when I thought of it, is she was talking about me saying like, oh, I wish I would have meditated more this week. Like I only did it 3 times. And I realized like, oh, that's so interesting. There's me again with the not enoughness. Like I didn't do enough to meet my goal.
Yeah.
And then I thought to myself, there is a difference between not being enough and not doing enough and wanting more. And I feel like a lot of us think those are the same things.
That's right.
Like, it's okay for me to want to do better. It's okay for me to say, you know what? I would like to meditate 7 days a week. That's a little extreme. I'm going to go to 5. I want to meditate 5 days a week. That's a perfectly healthy thought for me to have within myself. But for me to use the words, I didn't do enough, I wonder if I'm like programming myself in a negative way, right? Whereas my goal is I'm going to meet this goal as soon as I can. That's giving myself grace. That's forgiving myself. I get another chance. But if I stay focused on the fact that I didn't meet my goal, am I like subconsciously setting myself up to fail because I'm doing the like, you're not enough, you didn't make the goal, you're not good enough? Any thoughts?
No, I resonate with that. I can relate, whereas because I always set these bars for me, like, hey, you have to do this, or you can, and you should try to get here. And then when you don't, you kind of, there is this judge in me. It's like, sabotaging myself. So instead, hey, yeah, I did this. How can I improve? Or, so it's, yeah.
Like, I wonder if we try that this week, like anytime we catch ourselves about to attach to this belief that we should have done this. And my therapist says we're not supposed to use the word should have, but we do. We go into that. I should have done this. Instead of going there, we catch ourselves, we stop, and then we say, my goal is to do this next week.
Yeah.
I wonder if we would do better if that was happening. I don't know.
So from a coaching point of view, why do you think you are having those negative thoughts? Why are you talking that way to yourself, saying, I didn't do enough?
Well, I mean, ultimately, because we had set that goal as a group and I didn't meet the goal, and I felt disappointed in myself for not showing up for the group. Because to me, whoever did that, whoever was in the session and agreed to try this together, like whoever didn't do it was not committed to the group and to the effort. And here I am leading the book club, and yet I only did it 3 times out of the 5 possible times. Or was it 7 possible times? Monday to Monday is 7, right? So 4 of the 7, I didn't do it.
So why is it you can't say, good for me, I got 3 out of the 5 in, I did make progress, I am moving forward, I will try harder and I'll do a little bit better next time around? That's
exactly the point that I'm bringing up. I'm realizing that could be something, and because if it's happening to me, it's got to be happening to other people too.
Absolutely.
So I just wonder what's going to happen if we practice that this week, of instead of going into the obvious and what we've been trained and indoctrinated to do, right? Which is focus on what we didn't do, focus on what we didn't get right. Maybe we stop ourselves and we just, let's see what happens for a week. If instead of focusing on that, we go, well, go ahead, Katie.
Yeah. So like, should we make it a point to remember our small wins for the week? Like, actually have a couple to bring with us?
I love it. Yes. Yes. If it happens, it comes naturally. And for anybody watching the recording, if you have some wins this week, like definitely, yes, bring them and share them 100%. And no pressure. If you don't, you don't. But if you do, that's great.
A little situation or a metaphor to go with that is, think about being on the job all day long in the office, and you had so many interruptions, and you had to get this done for the boss, and you had to make these calls for the secretary, and you had to do this and you had to do that. And at the end of the day, you go, oh my God, I didn't get anything done today because it wasn't your list you were completing. And I've had this conversation with a couple of my clients, but turn around and tell me, what did you do today? That's something. That's a lot. What do you mean you didn't get anything done today? So, just kind of keeping that in mind with those little small positive thinking. I've had to do that too, because the negativity over the last few years, that's why I joined this school. I really joined it for me, to figure out me and figure out where I'm headed. And then the idea of being a coach, I've been doing something like that for years. I think I can do this job. So think about the little steps. I like that. Remember our little positive steps that we can find and congratulate ourselves for.
Absolutely. And encourage ourselves towards our goals. Hani, thanks for waiting patiently.
Oh, you're fine. Sorry, I just had to leave to go get my son at school. But what Rose was saying is right along what I was thinking. I was just recalling so many different moments of teaching. Again, I'm in Jay's Genius community, and so he coaches us weekly. And so many times people are joining a call and they're like, "I'm so sorry, I'm late," or "Oh my gosh, I didn't do my homework," whatever. And he's constantly just reminding us, "You're not late. You're here right now. You are here in this moment that you joined because that is the moment for you to join." Or you did what you did this week. Focus on what you did. You can get to the homework when you can or not, but just focusing on what is instead of what isn't.
Mhm.
And it's such a part, it's a big part of the meditation practice of just being and accepting what is, instead of hyper focusing on this absolute need for us to show up as a perfect or perfected individual, which isn't relatable, it's not possible, it's not human. And so truly and wholly embracing this human experience means to also embrace the fact that we're never going to be perfect, and it's okay that doing what we do each day is okay, whatever that looks like. And that preset agenda, that preset absolute, I have to A, B, C, D, E, F, G today, or I'm going to feel like a failure, is only setting ourselves up for continued lack of success or continued lack of adhering to some sort of plan or success or goal. Because if we're continually just foiling into the crumbled mess on the floor saying, well, I screwed up, so I don't know, it's not, I guess it's not worth it, or what I did wasn't enough, then why do we even do anything if it's not enough, or if it's not okay, or acceptable? And so I think obviously we're the hardest on ourselves, and it's so much easier for us to apply grace to those around us. But I think that's the discipline, is to allow ourselves space to provide and hold space for ourselves, instead of just giving that generosity and that grace to everybody else. That's great that we do, but give it to yourself first and be
Absolutely.
okay with that.
Yeah, 100%. We have to figure ourselves out before we can really truly help others, I think. And I don't know if you have all noticed, but have you noticed that you end up coaching people with very similar issues as your own? There's no accident for that. I mean, we are all mirrors. But that's why saying it, hearing it, and saying it is one step in the right direction. But the real step that I think is going to benefit us is putting it into action, like Katie said, this week, and taking note of our wins.
Yeah.
Of when we become self-aware in those moments, we're like, aha, I'm doing it again. I'm going to do it the right way. I think that's where the proof, that's the pudding, and the proof is going to be in the pudding. Yeah.
And I think another thing with that, Shauna, is that we focus on what did that do to bless my life because I did that day. Because I think reinforcing and reiterating to our own self how our day and the trajectory of that day or the moment or whatever, how that was blessed, is a huge thing for me to anchor me in motivation to keep on keeping on, because of the blessings that it gives to my life, or the abundance, or the just the space that it provides at such a different kind of undertone and overtone because of the intention.
Yeah. And Rose said the smart thing too, which is like, focus on the little things that you did get done. Focus on the things that you did get done, which reminds me of, remember how blessed you are. Remember what has blessed your life. Yeah. I think it's really,
And when you don't get something done and you feel like I didn't do enough, I didn't do it, you use that powerful question. And what was the worst thing that happened today because you didn't do that?
Mhm.
And if you go like, oh, I can do it tomorrow attitude, or so-and-so will cover that for me, you know, something along those lines. But that's the other thing I've gotten into the practice of when I'm feeling like that. And I just say, okay, so what was the worst thing that happened today because you did not post that today, or because you didn't? I have another chance, and it wasn't that important. I mean, it's important to me, but what is the worst thing that happened because I didn't do it?
Yeah. I think what's more important is that we stay in a positive mindset. There was actually a study done about what is more potent for change in our life. Is it getting rid of negative thoughts, or is it focusing on positive thoughts? Like, they studied which one had a greater impact, and focusing on the positive had a greater impact than eliminating the negative.
Mhm.
I thought that was interesting.
Mhm.
All right. Well, does anybody else have anything else they want to chat about before we go on our adventures for till next week? Does anybody have, so we have our task. We're gonna notice when we're focusing on the negative, and we're gonna like encourage ourselves to move toward the positive instead. And I'll just say, I'll read one statement, and then maybe next week we'll remember to talk about it a little bit. Meditation is superior to severe asceticism and the path of knowledge. It is also superior to selfless service. Just
Is that in the book?
yeah, it's page 145. It's chapter 6.
Okay.
It's,
Oh yeah, I see it.
it's the very last paragraph of chapter 6, and it's number 46.
Mhm.
And it also, the rest of that paragraph is, you may attain the goal of meditation even among those who meditate. That man or woman who worships me with perfect faith, completely absorbed in me, is the most firmly established in yoga. I'm not gonna lie, I feel like it's a little unrealistic, but we can talk about it next week.
145.
It goes right along with what they say about coaching, that it's not about being the smartest or the most well-versed in all topics when you're a coach.
Knowing a little
It's
bit about
not
it.
about that. It's taking it further than that, but it's like that same kind of thread of like, it's not about that. It's about the discipline of holding space, of staying quiet, of really listening. And so instead of listening to someone else, it's listening to our own self and listening to like the higher self.
Well, we wouldn't be in this book club if we were doing that. So clearly we all need help.
Even if we do it sometimes, it's just the discipline of like making that more of a frequent thing.
Yeah, the frequency. Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
Man, I feel like our next session we should talk about perfectionism.
And how that's always gonna take us to fail.
And how we always think we've kicked it until like it shows up somewhere and you're like, oh.
Mhm.
Somebody was talking about perfectionism, came up in the Launchpad class today. And I really just wanted to jump in there and go, like, you have got to let go of trying to be perfect, because what are you going to be teaching your clients? If
Mhm.
you're trying to be perfect, your clients are coming to you in all their imperfections. You're not going to, I mean, I don't know who, I didn't say anything because I didn't want to, but it did give me a minute to reflect and go, it's interesting how I have attracted so many perfectionists in this program. I'm here with them. There's a reason for that. I feel like that's something that we all need to really stay on ourselves about, like really be mindful and give ourselves grace and
Mhm.
just allow ourselves to be perfect.
Well,
Perfect. and human.
Katie brought up what they told us in our session this morning. And he said, I'm going to say it to you every single day you're with me. Done is better than perfect. Done is better than perfect, because you've actually taken action. You actually put something into motion. You actually took a step forward. It doesn't have to be perfect. You can go back, you can fix things, you can rewrite things, but it's done. You did something about it. May not be perfect, but done is better than perfect.
I love that. Our teacher
Yeah.
said, imperfect action is better than perfect inaction.
There you go. Right. Along the same lines. Yep.
Mhm.
Oh,
So
that's great. Thank you, Rose. And thank you. Actually,
Nice.
this gives a lot of relief.
All right, girls, thank
session,
you.
ladies.
And if we think about it, like I have a 10-year-old and he is that the kind of kid who it's like if it's not easy, he doesn't want to do it because then it's going to be hard and it won't be perfect.
Mm.
And I see that and it frustrates me, but then I think, you know what? Why does it frustrate me? Because it speaks to me, you know? It's like I've hurdled that on many levels, but there are still times when it shows up inside of me.
Mhm.
That's exactly what I was thinking this morning. I'm like, man, we got to stay on top of that. We really, I was just having a coaching session the other day, and the client was kind of feeling this way. And I said, you know, one of my coaches told me, like, our ego is very smart and very savvy. And so I have really been living under the guise that I'm not perfect and I don't believe that anybody is. Like, that is the show I've been putting on for everybody because my ego's smart enough to know that that's what I'm supposed to say. That's the new perfect version of me. The new perfect version is I don't believe in perfectionism all the while. I mean, just
No, I can totally relate with that too.
Eventually you'll talk yourself into it, right?
Oh boy.
it's hilarious. So we have to be careful that we're not, you know, being so smart and clever that we're pretending that we're over this bullshit goal of perfectionism. We got to keep that in check.
So true. I don't know if it's ever going to fully go away, but it's sure nice when I do notice parts of me that have let it go. Like there'll be certain scenarios that present and I'm like, oh my gosh, I used to like stress to the max about blank. And I don't even realize, and then I'll just think, I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't even think about it. Like that same situation presented and I didn't even respond or react. And so it's like, again, noticing that and celebrating it when we do realize that we have let go of parts of those pieces of perfectionism. But I think it's a lifelong
Oh, it is.
thing to journey through that, you know?
Yeah. That's a way more human
I think
perspective. Like,
when
we're not.
one,
Go ahead.
sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just adding to what Hanny was saying is like, you know, when one goes down and we think that it's over, another it hits and from another direction. You know, and if I have this newfound ego. Like,
Yeah.
It's like we have, like, you know, 4 babies, and once we get one put down to bed, then the other one wakes up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you all so much for today. And I'm really looking forward to next week. And I'm really proud of all of us because I think this week we're going to notice some things and move our mind in a positive direction.
Yep. Sounds good. So
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Shauna,
thanks,
as always.
everybody. Bye.
Yeah.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
girls.